rigged it. As I see it, class warfare, the only resort to right-wing doom. It's worth it. How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto Willis.
Welcome to Politics and Right. My name is Egberto Willis, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning to the great state of Texas. Good morning to the United States of America. And of course, good morning to the entire world. Welcome, welcome, welcome. You're receiving these signals via the magic of El Internet, formerly known as the ARPANET, created by whom? We the people, now controlled by the billionaires. But it's deeper than that. There's so much happening in our country right now, but we'll get to that later. Beforehand, though, let's go ahead and transfer to the geniuses in our LS studio, known as Jacques Van Bebba and Mayana. Good morning, beautiful people.
Good morning. This is genius number one, Mayana.
Mayana!
I love the genius.
We're still looking for the second genius here.
Well, I think we just got the second genius on the phone. I mean, hear me on the phone. This is no phone.
Okay,
on
genius.
Well, that shows I am not.
Even geniuses make mistakes.
Yeah, how you guys doing this morning?
I'm good.
We're good. We're ready to go.
We're ready to go. We got a lot to talk about. What's the word of the day, my dear brother?
Man, your headlines kind of say it all, so I'm just going to read them. Welcome to today's program where truth collides with right-wing deception. From the Vatican to Washington, influential voices are calling out hypocrisy, lies, and betrayal. Pope Leo XIV declares that one cannot call themselves pro-life while supporting the death penalty and demonizing immigrants. MSNBC's Ana Cabrera fact-checks Republican lies in real time as they try to scapegoat immigrants for their own shutdown, and progressives like Bernie Sanders and Ocasio-Cortez expose how Trump's and the GOP's policies will double insurance premiums for millions of Americans. This show is about truth and compassion and the progressive fight for justice. Man, that says it all.
That says it all.
Yeah, it says it all.
Look, let me tell you guys, we have so much to talk about. Mayana, what you got to tell me, if anything, before we get started?
I was just thinking that we got to make that happen. I was really happy about people fighting back on the lies that they're saying about immigrants getting health care and all that, because I couldn't believe just how bold-faced the lies were, and they just kept repeating it no matter what. It was very frustrating to watch.
You repeat a lie often enough, it becomes the truth.
But that's how they work.
Go. That's how they work. Well, I'm going to start kind of there in this respect. Yesterday or the day before, I think it was over 100 federal agents went into an apartment complex in Chicago, raided it, helicopters on the top, busting into people's doors, dragging folks out, and arrested 30-something people. We don't know if those 30-something people are really undocumented workers, but they arrested them. What we know is in this dragnet, a lot of Americans actually get captured. In other words, if you happen to have brown skin and an accent or whatever, I mean, you are likely to, in order for these guys to make their quota, they come on in and they take care of you. And as I'm watching this, I'm remembering all the things that we actually thought about the United States. So that is where I want to begin. But before I get there, I want to say a big welcome to Lisa Blair from, I think, Atlanta, Georgia. We have Reyes Nunez. How are you doing this morning, Reyes Nunez? And of course, on our Substack stack, we get started late because that's the way the Substack works on the desktop interface. But those that we have here is Barbara Chervis, Kat, Cheryl Elkins, Barbara Fetante. How you doing, beautiful ladies? And you know what? Before I finish calling names out, I just want to give a big kudos to women. Y'all are holding down the fort. I am out there, covering different protests, covering different activities, and what I see the most out there are women. And I know folks are going to say, but aren't a lot of those women retired? Yes, but a lot of men are retired as well that are staying home. Women, I want to give you guys the biggest kudos of my heart. I went out to one of those rallies, and one of the women came out and said, Berta, thank you for being here and covering this. I turned that mic around and I said, thank you. You're the ones that are making things happen. So women, I want to give you all a huge kudos. To the brothers that are going out there as well, huge kudos for you. But we have got to do better. If we believe this stuff that's occurring in this country is existential, it's not just about women. It's about us all. All of us have to engage peacefully, but we must all engage. Get rid of your prejudices and your fears. This is deeper than anything you can think of. This is deeper than what occurred during the McCarthy era. This is deeper than the angst that occurred after Reconstruction. Everybody, it starts the way you see it starts. The way what you're seeing in Chicago, what you saw in LA with people being beat down to the ground, faces smashed to the ground. The animalistic, thuggish behavior. Remember, all these people that are being hired by ICE, these aren't your regular kind of people. Because regular kind of people don't want to do what ICE is tasked to do. And that is being a thuggish, criminal-like attack on people that have committed no crimes. That is what we've got. Remember that. Whenever you see those people being slammed to the ground, remember when you've gone to your restaurant and see all those people that are working in there. Yes, some of them undocumented, but guess what? Businesses hire them. Why are they being hired? Because in a supply and demand, in a capitalist society, work chases labor. Bodies chase labor. It's not the people that should be roughed up. If you really, if there was not labor to have, if the employers were held accountable, nobody would have to be slammed to the ground. We would not have to teach animalistic behavior, thuggish behavior to enforce the law. That's not what it takes. If employers paid the price for hiring undocumented workers, you would not have undocumented workers. I want you guys to see, we always go to the lowest denominator to attack, to harm. Even in our economic system, the ones that pay the price are the poor, the ones that are most taken advantage of. The lower middle class is the ones that are most taken advantage of. But if there is really a problem, it is that business people with capital, deciding that they are going to hire undocumented folk. If there weren't people hiring undocumented folk, there wouldn't be undocumented folk, because what you find are the people whose economies we've destroyed south of the border. They're coming up into an economy that they feel they can do better at. And if they couldn't come over here and work, they wouldn't be here. So do not hold your angst against the undocumented worker. Hold your angst against those who employ them. And guess what, folks? I hate to tell many of you, I live in Kingwood, Texas. A lot of people live in Studewood, Texas. Some people live in all these other places in the Houston vicinity area. In the Houston vicinity, double talk. Houston vicinity. And when you see those, everybody that goes ahead and hires somebody to do their lawn, which in this area, a high percentage may be undocumented. Remember, you are providing as well. You are providing as well the incentive for folks to be working over here. So if you want, and what I find ironic, I've had discussions with people in Starbucks where we sit down and talk, and this is how I've changed many of their minds, reminded them that if we go ahead and arrested the lawbreakers, you, sir, who have your lawn done by an undocumented worker, you, sir, who have your shingles replaced by an undocumented worker, you are hiring somebody that's undocumented. You are actually doing something, technically speaking, illegal. But we understand the machinations of employment, the machination of having to get work done. Absent the undocumented worker in this country, it fails. Because we do not have the labor supply absent undocumented workers. And it's a nasty thing, but a truthful thing to admit. And when you see those ICE thugs doing what they do, understand what it really is. They don't want to catch or hold or put away all these undocumented workers. What they've done is created a new stream of income for billionaires. And how is that, you may ask? Well, what they do is they build these holding tanks to hold these undocumented workers that get shipped over as more come in. Because you still get the farmers who, when they need to turn the blind eye to get the cabbage picked, they're still here. To get the avocados picked, they're still here. To get the strawberries picked, they're still here. To get the cranberries picked, they're still here. It's a scam played on all of us. And it makes our country look horrendous, look no different than the things that you saw or see in Nicaragua, the things that you look and you see in all these countries that we like to look down on. Now we show that evil, attack on another civilian human being, is something that we have the propensity to do, just like any other evil country does. We now show, every day we can see it on TV, that we also have the propensity to be violent against civilians. So when anybody who looks at what's being done to the undocumented worker, instead of having your angst and feeling that sense of pride for that evil that is happening to them, having your kids watch your moms and dads slammed to the ground, busted faces. That immigration officer that we saw on TV, who simply, the woman begging, pleading to him, he holds her, throws her down to the floor with force and jumps on top of her. Just because she feels the pain of her undocumented husband being taken away from their 2 American kids, and she an American herself. Again, the hate. And then we have the nerve to say we're a Christian country, where Jesus said nobody's a stranger, where Jesus speaks about feeding the poor, where Jesus speaks about all these things, and you have the evangelical church with the preachers talking about kicking everybody out and white nationalism. Look in the mirror. If you partake of those beliefs of what's going on right now, look in the mirror. Look in the mirror. I guarantee it's not Jesus you will see, but Lucifer, if you believe in those things. Lucifer. You will be looking at Lucifer if you feel, if when you see that person thrown to the ground, it doesn't break your heart, it doesn't turn your stomach, it doesn't leave you in angst, then you can't be a humane human. I saw what occurred in Chicago. But then again, we have an administration, well, the last one as well, simply looking at evil around the world and supporting it. So folks, let's look in the mirror. Let's look in the mirror. But you know, when a country reaches to the spot where that evil that is done upon other human beings become natural, becomes constant, let me tell all of you out there, at some point in time we disagree with others. At some point in time we disagree with other people. Under this administration, disagreement means persecution. That's what it means. And if you don't think excuses will be used to throw you on the ground if you happen to be in disagreement, and arrest you and disappear you and say, oh, we made a mistake after the fact, after you've lost your job, after you've lost your life, remember that it could be you. It starts with the people most vulnerable. It starts with the people that everybody can say they don't matter as much. You see, in this country, risks are taken with those of a different hue, those with a darker hue, but it ultimately grows. It ultimately grows beyond hue. It ultimately will come to you. So therefore, your fight to stop what the ICE thugs are doing should be also, if you can't find the empathy within to do it for others, you may consider finding the empathy for yourself, because it is coming to you. And if you doubt that, read your history. And let me tell you, harming others is so easy. I'll talk about that with what Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Brother Bernie Sanders spoke about with the ACA. So let's go ahead and bring Tag into the conversation before I move on with the program. Tag, you're on.
Morning, Egberto.
Good morning, my brother. Talk to me.
I've got a little thought for people to contemplate over the weekend. I think maybe we'll hit home.
Please do.
How many people want to bring chaos into their home? You know, chaos in family, chaos in finances, chaos in anything. People don't like chaos in their home, right?
No.
But why is it that so many people are willing to invite chaos into their politics?
I mean,
all know for fact, if we continue to invite chaos into our politics, it's going to get into our homes eventually. And you don't want that. It's just, you just don't want chaos in your home. And you've got to stop the chaos in politics to ensure that we don't have it in our homes. What do you think about that thought?
I think you're absolutely right. And the thing about it, Tag, is the way they start this stuff is they start it slowly to make it seem natural. And you can start slowly against the others, right? The other people that people don't really consider the 100% human that they are. And that's what the administration knows. This is classic, not just fascism. This is just classic totalitarianism. Is that what we're looking at? And you're right. We don't want chaos, but what they're doing now is learning. It's teaching us how to accept chaos, how to make chaos a natural thing, a natural state that we're in. And once you program that into people, the chaos doesn't look so chaotic. So you're right, my friend.
Whenever you have the politicians up at the top, depending on the courts to decide what's right and what's wrong, that's a classic example of chaos right off the bat.
Yes, it is.
You never know how things are going to settle until a court decides. That's BS. We don't need that chaos in our lives. So
absolutely.
That was my rant for the day, Egberto. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tag, and you have a wonderful rest of your day. You know, at my daughter's school, today is where she teaches at. And by the way, LBW is correct. She says, wait until those masked thugs are outside our polling locations. You'll feel pressure then. And you see, that's the idea. You nailed it, LBW. Professor LBW, you nailed it. And that they want you to get used to seeing these masked people, because when they have these masked people in front of polling locations and brown people go out there to the polls, and they can do one of two things: scare brown people from not going to the polls, or when some go to the polls, put them down on the ground under the Supreme Court has given them permission to do profiling, color profiling. The Supreme Court has given them the opportunity to do that. The funny thing about that is talking about people voting, illegal folk or undocumented folk voting is a joke. The last thing undocumented folks want to do is to be found anywhere close to where their identities must be revealed. That's the insanity and the silliness of thinking that we have undocumented people voting in mass. It is such a anybody who believes that, they're defying your intelligence. If you believe that, they have made you dumb. Because the last thing people that are here undocumented want to do is show their faces into places where they can be caught. I wish every state had mail-in voting. It's here in Colorado, and it's much better. That's from Mary B. Well, Antoinette Jordan Norden, welcome, and it's happening from Connecticut. Welcome. Glenn says, does the Democratic Party go after employers? Did they when they were in power? This is not a Democratic or Republican issue. In fact, you don't see the Democratic Party, however, slamming people to the... Well, that's not completely true. Because under Obama, you had this same clown that is head of immigration doing some bad things as well. They just didn't do it as prominently and openly as and with the viciousness with what Donald Trump and his goons are doing. We have to start learning some humanity in these people who enforce the laws. Because again, the enforcers of the laws in this country put a penalty on hue, which means those of particular hues can be treated a certain way. Today is Hispanic Heritage Day at my daughter's school, and this morning I got up and I was Mayana was a bit worried because I checked in late doing all our mic checks, etc., because I was helping my daughter put her pollera. For Panamanians out there, yes, my daughter is going to school with her pollera. The pollera is the dress that we use in Panama. It's a very colorful, flowery dress with sort of beads in your hair, etc. And she's now a teacher in middle school, and they're doing the Hispanic Heritage Day, and in doing all of that and putting all this, I saw she's beautiful with this dress on. It's a Panamanian thing on, and I'm just looking at how beautiful she looks. And then I said, wow, suppose it's the day that I stands in front of that school. Are they going to try to throw down my daughter who's paralyzed on the left side and harm my daughter? What would I do then? Because her school is heavily Latino, right? So I am thinking she's putting her dress on. I hope this isn't the day those thugs decide to come out there and mess with people. I sure hope so. But the thing is, I want my white brothers and sisters that are listening right now. My daughter is a born American citizen. There are a lot of those Latinos that are in her school, born American citizens. And you never have to sit back and think, if when that eye sees you, if they're likely to hold you down, throw you to the floor, bust your face up on the ground as they throw you down. But every one of those kids, I guarantee you, their parents told them, remember, be on your best behavior, be on the lookout, and so much special instructions that they are going to carry on their shoulders to go to school every day until the thuggery, the evil that we have administered in this country is no more. Empathy. All of you that are listening to me, I want you to empathize, from kids right up to adults going to work, doing their jobs right now. Think about the instructions the kids had to receive from their parents. Look, I've been giving my daughter instructions from the time that she was leaving this house and being out there alone. And this part had very little to do with immigration. In this case, this had to do with her hue in Kingwood, and letting her know that her behavior had to be different. I've been telling her that from the time she was 5 years old. Think about not having those burdens and how much freer it makes you, and how much less unfree it makes others. I want all of you here to think about those things. These things are real. These things are real. Cheryl Elkins says, long quote but relevant. Mass propaganda discovered that its audience was ready at all times to believe the worst, no matter how absurd, and did not particularly object to being deceived because it held every statement to be a lie anyhow. The totalitarian mass leader based their propaganda on the correct psychological assumption that under such conditions one could make people believe the most fantastic statements one day and trust it the next day. They were given irrefutable proof of their falsehood. They would take refuge in cynicism instead of deserting the leaders who had lied to them. They would protest that they had known all along the statement was a lie, and would admire the leaders for their superior tactical cleverness. Hannah Arendt, The Origins of Totalitarianism, 1951. Thank you for that quote, Cheryl Elkin. Kimmy Wynn, welcome aboard, and I love you too, my dear. We have come to such a dark time, says Kimmy Wynn. Kimmy Wynn, we're at dark times, but it's up to us to change it, and we can. And that is one of the most... I wrote an article on Sunday, and I sent it out to my 22,000 people who actually get my newsletter. And I said, despair is not acceptable. Feeling bad is not acceptable. Demanding democracy is what's necessary. Demanding democracy. Peacefully, we can still get this done peacefully. Because those people in the military, those people in the police forces, they are you. They're your brothers, your sisters, your neighbors. They have to understand that what they're doing on the outside also is what others would do to you. And it's a matter of getting involved, staying involved. If you keep allowing this slow slide, it's not only about the physical harm being done to the undocumented, it's also the economic harm that's being done to you. And that's what we're going to talk about now. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Bernie Sanders. Bernie and AOC explain how Trump and GOP are about to double insurance premiums for millions of Americans. And I want to read the first part of this article. And it goes as follows. Come on, mouse. This is one... whoops, wrong place. Here we go. Amid the ongoing government shutdown fight in Congress, two of America's top progressive lawmakers on Wednesday released a video explaining exactly how President Donald Trump and his Republican allies are going to jack up Americans' health insurance. In the video, Senator Bernie Sanders, independent of Vermont, and Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Democrat of New York, explained their decisions to vote against the continuing resolution being put forth by Republicans to reopen the federal government. And this is what they said. This is one of the dirtiest tricks being pulled on the American people right now, Ocasio-Cortez said of the continuing resolution. Starting today, October 1st, that's yesterday. And remember I told you guys this yesterday. October 1st and throughout the rest of the month, Americans across this country are going to start getting notifications that their insurance premiums are up to doubling, and some even more. Say that again, Sanders responded. Monthly insurance premiums are going to double for millions of people across the country, Ocasio-Cortez emphasized, by signing that big ugly bill with no provisions to continue the subsidies for the Affordable Care Act. Many of you, that's what you'll be finding. But don't think it's only the people receiving insurance via the Affordable Care Act. It's much more than that. But continuing, Sanders then interjected to emphasize that this premium hike was coming at a time when we are already paying by far the highest prices in the world for healthcare, at a time when people can't afford it right now. You know, that highest price we're paying for healthcare is nothing more than a transfer of wealth, your money, to rich people, to the wealthy stockholders of that company, whose profit must increase between 7 and 20% every year, lest they be unhappy and start firing people. Ocasio-Cortez then listed some of the negative consequences that could come from not passing legislation to extend the enhanced subsidies for people who buy their insurance through the exchanges created by the 2010 Affordable Care Act. That means people getting bankrupt over chemotherapy, people going to pharmacies and not being able to get their insulin, and frankly, it means a lot of Americans are going to be in danger, she said, and Republicans want us to rubber stamp that. You know, my wife has lupus and there's a ton of medication she's on, many of them expensive. And I went out there to pick up her medication. And the lady comes and said, okay, this one for this month is $800. I'm like, what? Now, I do all kinds of things, and I use what I do a lot of time as leverage. So I went directly to the company and the website, write some stuff down, and I pointed out that I'm going to point out the fraud that this stuff is. I got a coupon from these guys that reduced that price to under $100. But let me tell you, we don't have a lot of people that are headstrong, stubborn SOBs that are going to fight for getting people to atone and do things that are right. So a lot of people, I spoke to the pharmacist, I said, what happens when somebody comes in here with a minimum wage job, doesn't know how to fight for themselves, etc.? What happens to them then? She said, sir, most people just walk away and don't take the medication the doctor has prescribed to them, which means ultimately, many a times, their death. And I sat back down and I said, we're talking about those people that are thrown to the ground, that are beat up, their face planted into the concrete, bloody. But there's another kind of murder that is occurring by our government. And that is exactly what's happening with the big, beautiful bill. What it is doing to the kind of killing that you don't see on air, the kind of savagery you don't see with your own eyes, the sort of unhinged attack on our soul that we don't see online, or rather that we don't see in person. What we see is the death of millions of Americans, because those wealthy people must continue with their ever-increasing capital gains from all the monies they're extracting from you. So the violence on the street becomes a distraction from the violence on you. The violence on you looks differently. The violence on you is not being able to have health insurance and you die. The violence on you is not having health insurance and those sores growing. The violence on you is having all these things happen to you. They don't need to throw your face into the concrete because they're having your body destroyed from within. I want you guys to think about that. Think about what you have elected. Think about what you're supporting. Ocasio-Cortez then listed some of the negative consequences that could come from the bill. That means people getting bankrupt over chemotherapy and all the medicines that they can't get. Sanders closed the video by reminding viewers that the U.S. healthcare system is already broken, given that we are the only major country on earth to not guarantee healthcare to all people. And these guys, he said, referring to Republicans, want to make it even worse. We are not going to let it happen. Many political observers praise the video made by Sanders and Ocasio-Cortez for directly telling Americans in plain language the stakes of the current shutdown fight. This messaging is approximately 142 times better, highly scientific estimate than Democrats are getting from leadership. Their message, instead of the quaint, meek message from Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, is what we're talking about. Roberto Cabral Duran, Vice President of Strategic Communications, Geopolitics and Corporate Affairs at global consulting firm Teneo, said that Sanders and Ocasio delivered a brilliant piece of political communication with their video. And I leave the rest for you guys to read. You can find it at my newsletter, politicsandright.com/newsletter. But something great happened yesterday, and I want to play a short video of what happened. Let me go ahead and play that now, and then we'll take it on the other side. Lately, I've been stressing that it's imperative that the independent media really get engaged, because the mainstream media isn't hitting back as we get the lies from the right wing as they mislead the citizenry, etc. But when the mainstream media does something that is extraordinarily well done, I think it's important that we point that out. And that is what just happened, and that's why I'm releasing this right now. I want you to listen to how MSNBC, I think it's Ms. Cabrera, interrupted the press conference by the Johnson, the Speaker of the House, to tell the truth to the American people. This is what the mainstream media should have been doing ages ago, from the time that Obamacare was coming into existence, from the time that the IRA was coming into existence. This is what they should do. Listen here, then we'll take it on the other side.
How dug in are they? Let's listen in to Speaker Johnson.
Make them answer for that. Don't ask the Republicans what we should be doing or what we should be negotiating. I don't have anything to negotiate. I sent them in good faith exactly what they had voted for before. We did not put any Republican provisions in that. And we tried to make this very simple, in good faith, so the appropriations process of the people can continue. Now, there's been a lot of talk about, they say that we're making this up, this illegal aliens receiving taxpayer benefits. It's a talking point, they said. I want to remind you of a couple of key facts. Everybody can remember, I think, back to 2020. In the presidential debate for all the candidates on the Democrat side, you might remember famously they were asked the question, raise your hand, they said on the stage, if you believe that illegal aliens should receive health care paid for by American taxpayers. Every single one of them raised their hand, to great applause in the audience from the Democrats who were there. Those hands included Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Now, what did they do? Did they follow through on that promise? Yeah, they absolutely did. Joe Biden used executive orders, and he expanded benefits, health care to illegal aliens in his 4-year term. That was an outrageous violation of the existing federal law.
Okay, I want to pull out just to make sure we don't offer misleading information when it comes to what the facts are and what the laws are. I can tell you that the U.S. law prohibits undocumented immigrants from gaining federally subsidized health care, whether that's Medicaid, Affordable Care Act, Children's Health Insurance Program, or otherwise. It's actually a 1996 law that establishes that, and the Democrats aren't looking to change that law. And as far as the Affordable Care Act subsidies, there is no access for undocumented immigrants to get Obamacare. That's just the fact.
Now, let me just tell you this, because I finished that in the video, but let me just tell you the lie that they tell. And all of this you can look up. The 1996 Personal Responsibility and Work Opportunity Reconciliation Act is what it was called. No, undocumented workers or undocumented people don't get federal care. Now, there are always going to be exceptions. If somebody break their leg or something and go into the operating room, we don't say absolutely we let you bleed out to death or else. We are human beings. We're humane. You know what is so funny? We call ourselves the most moral. We like to think of ourselves as a moral country. We like to think of ourselves of a country who cares about others. You go to France, you go to Germany, you go to England, you go to Canada, you go to all these other countries. If something happened to you while you're in all these other countries, because these countries believe in some sort of humanity, you're taken care of. Now, what they're doing there is saying, unless you go ahead and explicitly put in there, if an undocumented worker, an undocumented person that you understand is undocumented, go into an emergency room with a broken leg and bleeding out, let them die. You see where we're going with this? Folks, let me tell you, first of all, thank you, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Bernie Sanders, for putting it in plain English, unlike what the Democratic leaders have been doing. Very good work. And all of you that are listening to this have to push that out. The closure, the shutdown is the intent to attempt to save millions of Americans. That's the purpose of the shutdown. We're trying to get the subsidies so that folks don't have to dump their insurance or get or not buy the drugs that they need for their health or not feed their children. That is the purpose of the shutdown. It's a humane thing. And when these guys go out there and lie as they do by bending a truth or bending a fallacy, that is what we're looking at, folks. Please don't allow yourself to be hoodwinked. Don't allow yourself to make them make you evil. Brian, come on in.
Yeah, I'm here. Okay, why do people call Trump a fascist when the imperial Japanese government took over China, Burma, Philippines? What did Stalin do? How about Pol Pot? Oh, are they communists? That's why they don't call Trump fascist.
No, well, actually, Donald Trump is a fascist by exactly the actions that he's taken right now. Look up the definition and it falls. He's very totalitarian and anti-democratic and working in concert with corporations to do the same. That's what a fascist regime does. Continue, sir.
Okay, the corporation that you're talking about, Pfizer, okay, didn't he just make a deal with First Favored Nation?
Actually, yeah. And you know what I did? At the consternation... And you know what I did with the consternation of a lot of my listeners? I said, "Wow, a clock is correct. A dead clock is correct twice a day." There are a couple of things that Did you just listen to what I just said, or are you just wanting to put out a crazy statement? Let me tell you. Period. I said this when Donald Trump went ahead and says, "Well, we are giving billions of dollars to." To Intel, and as such, the United States government will do that for 10% of Intel. I said, "Oh my God, Donald Trump finally became a Democratic, the right thing, right?" Why is that? Because he said if we're investing our hard-earned tax dollars into a company, we should get return. I gave him kudos for that. Unfortunately, that's not the bottom line of what Donald Trump is doing. When Donald Trump forced Pfizer to charge Americans the same price that it charges the rest of the countries around the world out of fairness, I said, "Oh my God, that's a good thing that the guy is doing." Unfortunately, doing two good things with terrible everything else isn't good. All it does is it make it a little less stink. Anything else before I go on?
Okay, Trump is about to enter a venture with a superconductor and super chips in Taiwan.
Okay.
99% of what you say is bad on Trump.
Because it is
99%.
because
Program.
well I would hope that it's more than 90. I know, but here, I know you listen a lot, Brian. In fact, you report me a lot. You do all kinds of things a lot. I don't know why you listen so much when you're trying to harm the show so badly, but, I still love you, man. But here's the thing. Here's the thing, Brian. And by the way, notice that I still let you on. I want the audience to know this. Brian is not just a listener. Brian tried to get me off the air. Brian tries to complain. Brian tries to do all these things, right? And notice that I still let Brian on air. I am trying to be living an example of what free speech is all about. I am trying to live what I talk about. Even though Brian hates my guts, I still try to placate. And yesterday, there's a person on my 3 o'clock program that says I will no longer be a paid subscriber to your newsletter because you let Brian onto your show. So I lost because I refused to not let Brian onto my show. Okay? So Brian, let me tell you, I get everything. I get it. I don't get it. I don't get to read everything because I get too much, but I try. When I see your name in there, I say, okay, what's Brian up to now? But I just want to let you know that, Brian, okay? I got to go to other callers now, though. But let me just tell you.
Good weekend.
You too. Come on in, Derek. Let's have a go ahead, my brother.
Hey, good morning. Bob Marley had a song that says, "Time will tell. You think you're living in heaven, but you're really living in hell."
Yes.
And to those of you who are with the ICE, you do know that it ain't all just white people that's ICE. You got Hispanics and you also have blacks.
Mm-hmm.
I hope you all know that you're really becoming expendable. While you sitting there trying to be the water cooler hero, slamming people and acting a fool with the rest of the ICE folks, you just remember what they did with the fighting forces there back then with the Army. When they seen how bad they went out, I'm talking about the regiment, went out and beat the Indians badly, they turned around and they killed them all. So you think about it, while you want to walk around here slamming people, you're going to find yourself, you're not loved by them people. That's all I'll say.
Wait, Derek, don't leave yet, because I want to commend you for actually pointing that out, because a lot of people would try to make ICE look like it's a white thing, right? But no, there are a lot of Latinos, there are a lot of black folks in ICE. But let me just tell you something. These are people that have been selling their soul. ICE is trying to recruit people with a bonus of a $50,000 bonus up front is what I last heard. A $50,000 bonus up front. But here's the thing. Remember in Memphis, that black kid that was running and 5 cops beat him to death? You remember that? Those were 5 black cops and 1 white cop. What I try to tell people, and that every single person, because race is a stupid thing, it has no value in your head or anything else, right? Everybody has the propensity to do harm, and that's what you're seeing with ICE, the propensity to do harm. Thank you, my dear brother.
Let's go. It for paper money, Alberto. Paper money. And then notice something. They said up to $50,000.
Right.
Get you in there. They'll probably only give you 2.
Yeah, who knows? Thank you. You have a wonderful day, sir. All right, let's go to Brother Augie, line 3. Come on in, Augie.
He's talking about those communists. In Trump's first term, he was talking about how he admired those communists. They were his best friends. He admired... Trump admired how when the Chinese leader went in, the North Korean leader came in, everybody stood up for him. Everybody was up for Trump when he comes in.
Yes.
And people read the Houston Chronicle last Sunday. They're talking about a teacher. She went to be a teacher because of the experience she had when she was a little girl with HISD.
Mm-hmm.
And the first job she had just started was being a teacher in her elementary school that she went to. She had great memories about that, but it's her first year, and now she's decided to quit. because of Miles. The way he's ruining the HID, the school district. They have like Gestapo come into her class and make sure she adheres to it. All the rules Miles had put down for her.
It is shameful, but let me just tell you, I gotta go. Thank you for that, Augie, because I got a lot of calls and I only have like 5 minutes to do all of them. So thank you, my brother.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to line 4. Mike, give it to me in about 45 seconds.
Good morning. I just wanted to make a comment.
Yes, sir.
Calls it an objection to everything you say. I find it strange that he takes the time out each and every morning to call in to a show that doesn't agree with anything he says, but he makes it a point to sabotage you, which is their whole operation.
Yeah, let me. No, you're right, Mike, but let me just tell you why I also bring him on, because believe it or not, he brings in a lot of the commentary and the indoctrination by many other people that are listening, and they're saying yeah, and right, and what we get a chance to do is to pull that down for those other people. Continue, brother. All right, let's go to Bruce. Come on in, Bruce.
Good morning, Alberto.
Buenos dias.
Yeah, buenos dias. I just want to make a quick comment that talking about ICE, good people can be trained to do bad things. I remember seeing a photograph in one of the Skeptical magazines. I believe it was Skeptical Inquirer years ago. It showed the Nazis with belt buckles that said, "With God's help." And we've all seen the photographs of them having Sunday church picnics on Sunday and Monday executing the Jews. So good people can be coerced into doing bad things. I'm done.
Thank you so kindly, Bruce, and thank you for being quick. Jimmy, come on in. Line number 1.
This is a great program today. Trump really is a fascist. The way he does these tariffs on all these countries that are adding to inflation, he acts like he's a one-man dictator for our country. And I urge the people to vote Democratic. The Republicans are the ones that are causing all these problems. So we can do better. We don't need a fascist in the White House. And he's also now going to fire a bunch of federal employees that are doing a good job. And he wants to rule. He also is making drug dealers an enemy of the country. And he has no right to go killing people for selling drugs. That's not a penalty that's justified.
Right. Well, look, thank you very much for that, Jimmy. You're absolutely correct. If other countries decided to kill Americans for doing things that's against their own country, when we get into those places, we had been in a lot of trouble. There would be a lot of killing in Africa. There would be a lot of killing in Central America. And there would be a lot of killing in South America. But the thing about it is most Americans just don't know that. But thank you so kindly, Jimmy. Got to go. We'll talk tomorrow. We'll talk on Monday, brother Jimmy. Or I may have a program on Sunday for my subscribers, but anyway, thank you, brother. Let me just say this, folks. Let me just first of all, I want to tell everybody, do not be despaired, and I'm going to say this every day whenever I remember to say, do not be despaired about what's going on right now. Remember that in America, all of us still have what's known as agency. We can make the change and we can make things happen. And we also have to learn how to be our brother's keeper. I feel myself my brothers and sisters' keeper. And try to institute that in your own feelings and in your living every day. Try to look out. Try not to let the negativity they tell you about others infiltrate your mind, metastasize in your mind. Also remember, most people, even folks that you see them as MAGA, most people are good people. I'm telling you that because I speak to a lot of people, including MAGA folks and all these other folks. We need to hold those who have created this mental destruction accountable. Those are the folks that we have to hold accountable. You don't hold a sick person completely accountable. You hold those who are poisoning them, those who are poisoning their minds. That's the ones you have got to get to. It's not about the average human being. It's about those people that are practicing you know what. Anyway, let me throw it to the studios for the two geniuses.
Yeah, so one of the things that I think is really interesting is people say that politics is not personal. And I think it's really important to remember that politics are about values, and we need to stop saying it's not personal, and it's something not to discuss. It's really about what you believe the world should be like. And I think that people need to check out what it is they believe and know exactly what these people are selling. So when you vote.
Thank you for that, Mayana. You nailed it. Jack, come on in, brother.
Yes, the reason corporations love dictators is because they suppress the people and cut sweetheart deals for the corporations and enrich the dictator, which he uses the money to stay in power.
Amen. And it's a lot easier to deal with one person, an authoritarian, than to have to democratically ask other people to make the case to other people to support what you want to do. That's why America loves dealing with authoritarians. We love it. We love dealing with. That's why we dealt with Marcos from Philippines. That's why we dealt with Baby Doc from Haiti. That's why we dealt with Somoza from Nicaragua. That's why we dealt with all these people and loved to deal with them. So thank you guys. To my listeners, thank you so kindly for lending me your eyes and your ears for a few minutes every day. Love you all, and I mean that from the depths of my heart. Remember, you can get the rest of the program at politicsdoneright.com/newsletter, politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. You can also write me directly at kpft@politicsdoneright.com, kpft@politicsdoneright.com. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right, and you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out!